I don't think they care, and I think they're only trying to get a fig leaf to justify billions of new spending.
There's a gimmick here. They have a limit on the Obamacare subsidy. That program is supposed to go away in 3 years. It's not going to go away. If you play it out over 10 years, this adds to the deficit.
So, John, once this passes the Senate, then the House needs to vote on it. There could be, though, a major hiccup when that happens. On Wednesday, we're expecting the inflation numbers to come out from July. If that number is bad, it's possible that some House Democrats worried about inflation may decide not to vote for it. John?
Interesting times ahead. Hillary Vaughn on Capitol Hill. Thank you.
Let's bring in Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy. Great to have you here. We're awaiting the White House. Obviously, a lot of these questions will come up in that briefing room, but good to have you, Senator. First off, Republicans, they're taking on this president for what they're labeling his weak approach to China. Pelosi, obviously, with her visit, standing firmly with Taiwan. How do you view President Biden's approach on China?
Yeah, so you got to stand up to him. I agree with what Lindsey Graham said. You got to be strong. Whether or not we can, whether or not we're projecting strength right now is arguable. You can imagine that they see President Biden as weak, and that's why they are being as aggressive as they are being aggressive. I think that's actually a fair statement. You could also argue the same thing about Russia going into Ukraine, and it may have been precipitated by us retreating so disastrously from Afghanistan. So at some point you set up a narrative. International rivals are reading that narrative. We need to change that narrative.
The former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was on Fox earlier today, and he had this to say about the administration's approach. Listen.
This administration just seems on its back foot. It seems defensive. It seems fearful. We're the most powerful nation in the world. We ought to act like that.
What do you think about the last part of that? We ought to act like we are the most powerful nation in the world.
Well, the time to act that way is not when the other is provoking you. It is to act that way before they provoke you because they have second thoughts about provoking you. So I agree with what he's saying. Now we have to implement what is our new strategy. I'm not sure this administration has the capability to lean forward, to do anything but to react. And always they seem just a half a step behind of where they should be. We need to be a half a step ahead.
I want to transition now to the economy, as this likely will be a big topic of conversation in that White House briefing room a short time from now as well. You've got 230 economists from all over the country, all walks of life, different parties. They are writing to this White House and warning that this massive spending plan to bring down inflation might not even bring it down, could make it worse. They're saying, quote, it would create immediate inflationary pressures by boosting demand, while the supply side tax hikes would constrain supply by discouraging investment and draining the private sector of much needed resources. And there's questions over how much it's actually going to bring down inflation. We put that to the White House. Jared Bernstein joined us last hour, and here was his response.
The deficit reduction is clearly disinflationary, and that's why you have Furman and Summers making that comment. There have been various estimates of the extent to which it lowers inflation. To them, from we have seen estimates that take inflation down by, I think if you look at Mark Zandi's work, it takes inflation down by about 1/3 of a point.
It's a lot of spending to bring down inflation at 9.1%. By 1/3 of a point?
Yeah, I agree with that, by the way. That's $300 billion, which is probably arguable, maybe $100 billion over 10 years. To put that in perspective, I think there's $90 billion a month that the Federal Reserve is allowing to roll off their balance sheet. So it's truly a small fraction. But just take their argument for what it's worth. It's going to be 1/3 of a point. Yeah, my folks back home who can't afford their electricity, their gasoline, who can't afford their groceries, it's down from 9.7 to 9.4. That's a big help. No, they don't notice. As one of them says, President Biden should live where real people live.
Interesting that this bill includes tax increases on imported oil. If that's the case, why is the White House not admonishing domestic oil producers to get busy and get out there and pump more oil out of American soil?
Well, one thing we can say about that tax on oil is it's going to roll right through to the pump. The president, way back when, saying in the Rose Garden, he's going to do everything possible to lower the price at the pump. Not true. In fact, among the things he's doing is increasing the tax on that barrel of oil, which you'll pay whenever you fill up. This is a lot of misleading statements that are going to hurt the American people in their pocketbooks.
Senator, appreciate you joining us on all things China and the economy, two big topics that are likely to come up at the White House shortly. Senator Cassidy, thank you very much, sir.